The alarm rang across every human world at the same time. 3 million people were in danger. The colony planet called New Busan had been attacked without warning. Nobody saw it coming. Ambassador Minji sat in her office on Earth when the news came. She had worked for the government for 30 years. She had solved many problems between different alien species. She knew how to talk and find solutions. But this time felt different. The message on her screen was clear. The Valtheron Empire had taken all the people on New Busan as prisoners. Their military commander, a tall alien named Hyuk, wanted something impossible. He wanted humans to give up 15 planets. He gave them only 3 days to decide. Minji stood up and looked out her window. Earth looked peaceful below. The blue oceans and white clouds showed no sign of the crisis. But she knew that 3 million families were waiting for help. 3 million people who trusted humanity to save them. She walked quickly to the meeting room. Other human leaders were already there. Everyone looked worried. General Sora, who commanded Earth's space forces, was talking on a communication device. Counselor Taeyong, who worked with the Alien Council, was reading reports on his tablet. Minji spoke first. Her voice was calm but firm. She had learned long ago that panic never helped anyone. She told the others that she would contact the Galactic Council immediately. The Council was a group of 43 different alien species. They had rules about war and peace. They could help stop this, but Taeyong shook his head. He had bad news. The Council moved slowly. They needed votes and meetings and more votes. It could take weeks to get permission to fight back. The people on New Busan did not have weeks. They had 3 days. General Sora stood up from her chair. She was older than Minji, with gray hair and hard eyes. She had fought in small battles before humans joined the Council. She knew about war. She asked a simple question that made everyone stop talking. Where was the retribution? Minji felt her heart beat faster. The retribution was a secret. Very few people knew it existed. It was a warship unlike any other. Humans had built it over 200 years, working in secret, hoping they would never need to use it. Sora answered her own question. The retribution had left Earth 6 hours ago. It was already traveling through space at incredible speed. It would reach New Busan in less than 3 days. Just before the deadline ended, Minji felt torn inside. Part of her was relieved. The retribution could save those people. But another part of her felt sad. She had spent her whole life avoiding war. She believed in talking and finding peaceful solutions. Now a weapon was racing toward battle and she could not stop it. She made a decision. She would still try to negotiate. She would talk to Commander Hyuk. She would offer him deals and compromises. Maybe, just maybe, she could end this without fighting. Hours later, Minji stood in front of the Galactic Council. The meeting room was enormous. Alien representatives from dozens of worlds sat in curved rows. Some looked like giant insects. Others were covered in fur or scales. Some floated in tanks of strange liquid. All of them were watching her. She spoke clearly. She explained what happened on New Busan. She asked the Council to condemn the Valtheron attack. She asked them to demand the release of the prisoners. Many aliens nodded and made sounds of agreement. They said the Valtherons were wrong. They said something should be done. But when Minji asked for action, they became quiet. The rules were clear, they said. The Council needed time to decide. They needed procedures and votes. One alien, a creature with blue skin and 4 arms, made a comment that hurt. He said humans were known for being patient, known for talking and compromising. Surely humans could find a peaceful solution. Surely they did not need to think about violence. Minji kept her face calm, but inside she felt angry. These aliens thought humans were weak. They thought patience meant fear. They did not understand that sometimes peace only works when people know you can fight if you must. Far away in space, Captain Daehyun stood on the bridge of the Retribution. The ship was massive, 3 times bigger than any normal warship. But it was also invisible to most sensors. It moved through space like a shadow. Daehyun was 45 years old. He had trained for this mission since he was 20. He had studied every type of alien ship. He had practiced every battle plan. He had hoped this day would never come. But now it was here. His crew worked quietly at their stations. Lieutenant Jiwoo, his weapons officer, checked her systems again and again. She was younger than most of the crew, only 28. But she was brilliant at her job. She was also scared. Her family lived on New Busan. Her mother, father, and younger brother were among the prisoners. Daehyun walked over to her station. He put a hand on her shoulder. He told her they would save her family. He told her to trust the plan. She nodded but said nothing. Her eyes stayed on her screens. The ship's computer showed a timer counting down. 68 hours until they reached New Busan. 68 hours until everything changed. Back on Earth, Minji worked through the night. She made offer after offer to Commander Hyuk. She proposed giving the Valtherons trading rights. She offered technology sharing. She even suggested giving them 2 planets instead of 15. Each time Hyuk laughed. His response came as video messages. He sat in his command chair looking proud and cruel. He said humans were predictable. Said they would beg and plead but never fight. Said he would take all 15 planets and maybe more after that. Minji watched his latest message and felt something break inside her. She had always believed in diplomacy. But diplomacy only worked when both sides wanted peace. Hyuk did not want peace. He wanted to prove humans were weak. She sent one more message. This time her voice was different, colder, harder. She told Hyuk that humanity was offering one final deal. Release the prisoners now. Leave New Busan immediately. In return, humans would give them 1 planet and forget this ever happened. Hyuk's reply came quickly. Just one word. No. Minji closed her eyes. She had tried everything. Every diplomatic trick she knew. Every compromise she could imagine. Nothing worked. The Valtherons wanted war. They would get it. She opened a secure communication channel. The face of Captain Daehyun appeared on her screen. He looked tired but ready. She did not need to say much. They both understood what came next. The ambassador gave her permission. The captain accepted it. In 2 days, the retribution would arrive. The Valtherons thought humans would surrender. They thought wrong. Somewhere in deep space, the deadliest ship ever built continued its silent journey. Its weapons were charged. Its crew was ready. And the galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. Humans would negotiate. They always tried to negotiate. But when negotiation failed, they had prepared for something else entirely. The retribution moved through space like a ghost. Its hull was black as midnight. Its engines made no sound in the vacuum. Captain Daehyun walked the corridors checking on his crew. Everyone was busy preparing for what might come. The ship was enormous. It had corridors that went on for hundreds of meters. It had weapon systems that most people could not even imagine. It had been built in complete secrecy over 2 centuries. No alien species knew it existed. Even most humans did not know about it. Daehyun remembered the day he first saw the retribution. He was 20 years old, fresh out of the academy. A general had pulled him aside and asked if he wanted to join a special program. Something secret, something important, something that might never be used but had to be ready. He said yes. He spent the next 25 years training, learning, preparing. He studied every alien species, every type of weapon, every tactical situation. He became the best captain humanity had, and now finally his training mattered. He entered the main bridge. Lieutenant Jiwoo was already there running system checks. Her face was pale but focused. She had not slept in 24 hours. She refused to rest while her family was in danger. Daehyun sat in his command chair. The screens around him showed star maps and tactical displays. They were 48 hours from New Busan now. 48 hours from either saving millions or failing them completely. He thought about why this ship existed, why humans had spent so much time and money building it. The answer was simple but sad. Peace was not natural. Peace had to be protected. 200 years ago, humans joined the Galactic Council. They were happy and excited. They met aliens from dozens of worlds. They learned new sciences and new philosophies. They thought the universe was full of friends waiting to be made. But Earth's leaders noticed something troubling. The Council respected species that could fight. Species with powerful militaries got better treatment. Species without weapons got ignored or bullied. The Council talked about peace, but peace came from strength, not from weakness. So humans made a choice. They would be peaceful. They would negotiate and compromise. They would solve problems with words whenever possible. But they would also build one weapon so powerful that no one would dare test them. The retribution was that weapon. And it was incredible. Jiwoo pulled up the weapons display on her screen. She had memorized every system, but she checked them again anyway. The numbers and graphics showed capabilities that would terrify any alien military. The ship had singularity torpedoes. These weapons created tiny black holes when they hit targets. The black holes existed for only seconds, but that was enough. They swallowed entire ships completely. Nothing remained. Not even debris. The ship had quantum displacement cannons. These were even stranger. They did not blow things up. They pushed targets out of normal space. The targets simply vanished, erased from existence. Jiwoo had seen test footage. Ships were there 1 second and gone the next. It was frightening. The ship had adaptive shields. After being hit once by any weapon, the shields learned how to stop that weapon completely. Energy beams became harmless. Missiles bounced off. The shields got stronger with every attack, and the ship had Oracle. This was an artificial intelligence that helped with tactics. Oracle could predict what enemy ships would do before they did it. It calculated thousands of possibilities every second. It made the retribution almost impossible to surprise, but the most impressive thing was the power source. The retribution ran on something called zero-point energy. It pulled power directly from the fabric of space itself. This meant the ship never ran out of energy. It could fight at full strength forever. Jiwoo stared at her screens. All these weapons, all this power, and her family was still trapped on New Busan. She could destroy an entire fleet, but she could not yet save the people she loved most. Daehyun noticed her distress. He stood up and walked to her station. He spoke quietly so only she could hear. He told her to stay focused, told her they would succeed, told her that her parents would be proud of her no matter what happened. She nodded and wiped her eyes. She returned to her work. The weapon system showed all green. Everything was ready. On Earth, Ambassador Minji had been awake for 2 days straight. She sat at her desk making video calls and writing messages. She was still trying to negotiate, still trying to find a peaceful solution. She offered Commander Huck 3 planets, then 4, then 5. She offered mining rights and technology. She offered trade agreements that would make the Valtherons rich. Each offer was generous. Each offer gave away more than any human wanted to give, but Hyuk rejected everything. His responses became more insulting each time. He called humans weak. He said they were afraid to fight. He said he would take all 15 planets and humans could not stop him. The worst part was that other aliens were watching. The entire galaxy saw these negotiations. They saw humans offering more and more. They saw the Valtherons refusing everything. Some aliens felt sympathy, but others started to think maybe Hyuk was right. Maybe humans really were too weak to resist. Counselor Tae-young attended meeting after meeting with the Galactic Council. He argued that the Council should help humanity. He pointed out that the Valtherons broke every rule about warfare. He demanded action, but the Council moved slowly. They formed committees. The committees formed subcommittees. Everyone agreed something should be done, but nobody wanted to actually do anything. They talked and debated while 3 million humans waited to die. One alien representative, a creature from the Kryn species, asked an interesting question during a council session. He wanted to know why humans had not sent their military yet. Where were the human warships? Why had Earth not deployed its fleet? The question made everyone think. Normally, when a species was attacked, they sent ships immediately. But humans had done nothing visible. No fleet movements, no military preparations. It seemed strange. Tae-young kept his face neutral. He said nothing. He knew the truth, but he could not reveal it. The retribution had to remain secret until it was too late for the Valtherons to prepare. 36 hours before the deadline, something terrible happened. Commander Hyuk sent out a video broadcast. It showed a human woman named Eunji. She was a teacher on New Busan. She stood in front of Valtheran soldiers with weapons. Hyuk announced that he would execute 1 prisoner every hour. Until humans surrendered, Eunji was the first. The video showed her final moments. She was brave. She told her students to be strong. Then the soldiers killed her. The video was sent to every human communication channel. Billions of people watched it. Protests erupted on Earth and every human colony. People demanded action. They wanted their government to do something. On the retribution, the crew watched the video in silence. Many were crying. Jiwoo's hands shook as she gripped her console. She thought about her family, about her mother who taught at the same school as Eunji, about her father who worked at the spaceport, about her brother who was only 15 years old. Captain Daehyun felt rage burning inside him. He had spent 25 years hoping this day would never come, hoping humanity would never need to use this ship, but now he understood. Some species did not understand peace. They only understood power. He gave orders to increase speed. The retribution accelerated to maximum. The quantum drive pushed space itself aside. Time became strange at these speeds. Hours outside passed as minutes inside. They would reach New Busan sooner than planned. Minji watched the execution video in her office. She felt something break inside her. She had negotiated for peace her entire career. She believed in talking and compromising. But what good were words against someone like Hyuk? She opened a secure channel to the retribution. Captain Daehyun's face appeared. He looked different now, harder, ready for what came next. Minji gave her authorization. The words felt heavy. She told Daehyun to do whatever was necessary. Save the hostages. Stop the Valtherons. Show the galaxy that human patience had limits. Daehyun accepted the order. The channel closed. Minji sat alone in her office, crying for the first time in decades. She had failed to keep peace. Now others would pay the price, but she did not know what the retribution truly was. She did not know what Daehyun and his crew could do. She thought they were going to fight a desperate battle against impossible odds. She was wrong. The retribution was not going to fight a battle. It was going to deliver a message, and that message would be written in the wreckage of the Valtheron fleet. 18 hours remained on the deadline. Ambassador Minji had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red and her hands shook from too much coffee. But she made one last attempt at peace. She requested a private communication with Commander Hyuk. No council observers. No other aliens listening, just the two of them. She needed to try one more time. Hyuk accepted her request. His face appeared on her screen. He looked amused, like this was all entertainment to him. Behind him through a viewport, Minji could see New Busan, the blue planet where 3 million people were prisoners. Minji abandoned all diplomatic language. She spoke plainly. She told Hyuk she would give him 6 planets. 6 planets in exchange for releasing the hostages immediately. It was twice what he originally demanded. It was more than any species had ever given up without war. Hyuk laughed. It was a cruel sound. He told her the truth. He did not really care about planets. He did not need resources or territory. This was about humiliation. About proving to the entire galaxy that humans were weak. He said humans were famous for negotiating, famous for talking their way out of problems. He wanted to show everyone that this reputation was built on cowardice. He would take the 15 planets, and he would execute one hostage every hour until humanity surrendered completely. Minji felt something change inside her. She had spent 30 years believing in diplomacy, believing that any problem could be solved with the right words. But Hyuk did not want solutions. He wanted suffering. Her voice changed. It became colder, harder. She told Hyuk he was making a mistake. She told him there were things he did not understand about humanity. She warned him that he would regret this choice. Hyuk laughed again and ended the communication. The screen went dark. Minji sat in silence for a moment. Then she opened a new channel. This one went directly to the retribution. Captain Daehyun appeared. His face was calm, but his eyes showed the same anger Minji felt. She gave him simple orders. Engage the enemy. Save the hostages. Do whatever it takes. Daehyun acknowledged the order. The communication ended. Minji knew what came next. After 30 years of preventing war, she had just given permission for one to begin. The Galactic Council held another emergency session. Dozens of alien species gathered to debate. Some condemned the Valtherons. Others urged patience. Many wondered why humans still had not sent military ships. The Kryn representative stood and made a speech. His species had fought the Valtherons centuries ago. He understood how dangerous they were. He urged the council to authorize immediate military intervention, but the council voted to form another committee to study the situation. They would meet again in 48 hours. By then, the deadline would be over. The hostages would be dead. Councillor Taeyong watched the vote with disgust. The council was useless, all talk and no action. He thought about the retribution, about the secret humans had kept for 2 centuries. Soon everyone would understand why. The retribution dropped out of quantum drive at the edge of the New Busan system. They were still far from the planet, but close enough to start final preparations. Captain Daehyun stood on the bridge, watching tactical displays. The displays showed the Valtheron fleet. 37 warships orbited New Busan in defensive formation. 3 were massive battle cruisers, each capable of destroying a city. The rest were cruisers and destroyers, all heavily armed. By normal military logic, the Retribution was badly outnumbered. 1 ship against 37. It should be suicide to engage. But this was not a normal ship, and this would not be a normal battle. Lieutenant Jiwoo ran her final weapons checks. Every system showed green. The singularity torpedoes were armed. The displacement cannons were charged. Oracle had calculated attack plans for every possible scenario. She thought about her family. They were somewhere on that planet below. She had not heard from them since the attack. She did not know if they were hurt. She did not know if they were scared. But she knew she would save them or die trying. Daehyun addressed his crew over the ship-wide intercom. He spoke about duty and sacrifice, about the 3 million people depending on them, about showing the galaxy that human patience was not weakness. He reminded them that they had trained for this their entire careers. They knew their jobs. They knew the ship. They knew what needed to be done. Now it was time to do it. The crew responded with determination. They were ready. They had been ready for decades. 15 hours before the deadline, Commander Hyuk made good on his threat. Another execution was broadcast across all channels. This time it was not 1 person. It was 10. The victims were chosen randomly. Men and women. Young and old. They were lined up in front of cameras while Hyuk delivered a speech about human weakness. Then his soldiers killed them all. Billions of humans watched in horror. On Earth, crowds filled the streets demanding action. On other colonies, people cried and prayed. Everyone felt helpless. Everyone wanted someone to do something. On the Retribution, the crew watched the executions in silence. Jiwoo discovered that one of the victims was her mother's best friend. A woman she had known her whole life. The woman who taught her how to cook. Who told her stories when she was young. Jiwoo felt tears running down her face. She wiped them away and focused on her screens. Emotion could wait. Right now she had a job to do. Captain Daehyun gave the order to advance. The Retribution accelerated toward New Busan at maximum speed. They would arrive in 8 hours. 2 hours before the next scheduled execution. The Valtheron sensor operators detected something at the edge of their range. A single ship approaching, unknown configuration. They reported it to their commanders, but nobody was worried. 1 ship was no threat to an entire fleet. The Retribution's stealth systems made it appear smaller than it was. To Valtheron sensors, it looked like a medium-sized cruiser, maybe a diplomatic ship, maybe a scout. Nothing dangerous. 3 hours from New Busan, Captain Daehyun sent a message. It was transmitted on all frequencies so everyone could hear. The message was simple and direct. He identified himself and his ship. He told Commander Hyuk he had 1 hour to release all hostages and withdraw his fleet. If Hyuk refused, the Retribution would engage. This was the only warning. On his flagship, Hyuk listened to the message and laughed. His officers laughed too. 1 ship against their entire fleet? It was ridiculous. The humans were desperate. They were sending whatever they had, hoping to look brave before they died. Hyuk sent a response. Just 1 word. Number Daehyun received the response. He had expected nothing else. He turned to Lieutenant Jiwoo. His orders were calm but final. Weapons free. Engage all targets. Jiwoo's fingers moved across her console. Years of training took over. She was no longer thinking. She was acting, doing what she had practiced 10,000 times. The first 3 singularity torpedoes launched. They moved faster than light, invisible to conventional sensors. They had 1 target each. The 3 Valtheron battlecruisers. The torpedoes reached their targets in seconds. They detonated simultaneously. 3 miniature black holes appeared in space. They lasted only moments. But moments were enough. The battlecruisers imploded. Metal twisted and compressed. Entire ships were crushed to the size of a marble, then swallowed completely. Thousands of Valtheron crew died instantly. They had no time to scream. No time to understand what happened. The 3 most powerful ships in the Valtheron fleet simply ceased to exist. It took less than 5 seconds from launch to completion. Commander Hyuk stared at his tactical display in shock. His officers were shouting confused reports. The battlecruisers were gone. Not damaged. Not destroyed, gone completely. He realized he had made a terrible mistake. The human ship was not a desperate gamble. It was something else entirely. Something he did not understand. He screamed orders to his fleet. Attack the human ship, kill it. Destroy it now. 34 Valtheron warships opened fire at once. Plasma cannons, missiles, particle beams. Enough weapons to destroy a moon converged on the Retribution. The Retribution's shields activated. Every hit was analyzed. Every energy signature was recorded. The adaptive systems learned and adjusted. Within 30 seconds, the shields had become immune to every Valtheron weapon. The next wave of attacks simply disappeared against the shields. The weapons could not hurt the Retribution anymore. The ship was untouchable. On the bridge, Captain Daehyun watched his tactical display. The Valtheron fleet was panicking. Their most powerful weapons were useless. They had no idea what they were facing. He gave Lieutenant Jiwoo her next order. Show them what we are. Jiwoo activated the displacement cannons. Her targeting computer locked onto 4 Valtheron destroyers. She took a breath and fired. 4 ships vanished. No explosion, no debris. They were there one instant and gone the next. Erased from existence, the galaxy was watching. Every species with sensors in the area saw what happened. The impossible had become real. One human ship was destroying an entire fleet. And the battle had only just begun. The Valtheron fleet was in chaos. 7 ships had been destroyed in the first minute of combat. Commander Hyuk screamed orders, but his subordinates barely heard him. Everyone was panicking. The remaining 30 ships tried to scatter. They broke formation and fled in different directions. It was a tactical mistake. Oracle, the Retribution's artificial intelligence, had already predicted this response. It calculated optimal firing solutions before the Valtherons even moved. Lieutenant Jiwoo switched her weapons to automatic mode. The displacement cannons fired in rapid sequence. Each shot was perfectly aimed. Each target was chosen to maximize efficiency. 5 more Valtheron ships vanished, then 7 more, then 3. The cannons fired faster than any alien species had thought possible. The targeting was impossibly accurate. Ships were erased from existence before they could even react. Some Valtheron captains tried to surrender. They broadcast emergency signals. They powered down their weapons. But Captain Daehyun showed no mercy. These aliens had executed innocent teachers, had threatened to kill 3 million people, had laughed at every peaceful offer. Surrender was not an option. Not anymore. Singularity torpedoes tracked down fleeing vessels. Each impact created a brief black hole. Each black hole consumed a ship entirely. The Valtherons had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from dozens of species watched in stunned silence. The sensor data was streaming live. They saw the impossible happening. One ship was destroying an entire fleet. The Kryn representative was the first to understand. He turned to Counselor Taeyong with a look of shock and respect. He said humans had not shown their military because they did not need a military. They had built one ship capable of fighting everyone. Taeyong said nothing. But inside he felt both pride and sadness. Pride that humanity had such capability. Sadness that they had been forced to use it. Ambassador Minji watched the same data feeds from her office. She saw ship after ship disappear. She saw the Valtheron fleet being systematically destroyed. Part of her was relieved. The hostages would be saved. But another part of her mourned. She had spent 30 years preventing exactly this. 30 years building bridges instead of weapons. 30 years proving that diplomacy could solve any problem. And now she watched those 30 years collapse in minutes. Tears ran down her face. She wondered if she had failed. If she should have found a better way. But deep down she knew the truth. Some people do not want peace. They only understand violence. 12 minutes into the battle, 28 Valtheron ships had been eliminated. Only 9 remained. Commander Hyuk was still alive on his flagship, but barely. His ship had taken damage from debris. His shields were failing. He realized the battle was lost. His fleet was destroyed. His reputation was ruined. But he still had one card to play. The hostages. He opened a communication channel to the Retribution. His face appeared on Captain Daehyun's screen. Hyuk looked desperate now. All his earlier confidence was gone. He threatened to kill all 3 million hostages. Said his soldiers on the ground had weapons aimed at every detention center. Said if the Retribution fired one more shot, everyone would die. Daehyun listened without expression. When Hyuk finished, the captain responded with cold certainty. He told Hyuk he was going to kill them anyway. Everyone knew that now. But what Hyuk did not know was that the Retribution could see everything on the planet's surface. The ship's sensors could track individual soldiers. could identify their weapons, could calculate exactly where each guard was standing. Oracle had mapped every detention center completely. Daehyun gave Lieutenant Jiwoo her most difficult order yet. Surgical strikes. Target every Valtheron soldier threatening hostages. Use non-lethal displacement. Civilians must not be harmed. Jiwoo felt her stomach tighten. This was the most precise targeting ever attempted. The margin for error was tiny. If her calculations were wrong by even millimeters, innocent people would die. Her own family might die, but she had trained for this. Oracle had calculated everything. The targeting computer showed green lights. She took a deep breath and fired. On New Busan's surface, 12,000 Valtheron soldiers vanished in an instant. They were there 1 second and gone the next. Their weapons clattered to the floor. The hostages stood in shocked silence, unable to process what just happened. Then someone started laughing. A nervous, relieved laugh. Others joined in. Soon thousands of people were laughing and crying at the same time. They were free. The impossible had happened. They were actually free. Lieutenant Jiwoo checked her screens frantically. The biosigns showed no civilian casualties. 0. She had hit 12,000 individual targets without harming a single innocent person. Relief flooded through her. Somewhere down there, her family was safe. In the Galactic Council, complete silence fell. Every alien representative understood what they had just witnessed. The human ship had performed an impossible feat. 12,000 precise strikes from orbit. No collateral damage. No mistakes. No species in the galaxy had that capability. No military in history had ever demonstrated such precision. Humans were not just powerful. They were terrifyingly accurate. Commander Hyuk stared at his screen in disbelief. His ground forces were gone. His leverage was gone. He had nothing left. In desperation, he ordered his remaining ships to ram the Retribution. A suicide attack. If he was going to die, he would take the human ship with him. 6 Valtheron warships turned toward the Retribution and accelerated. Their commanders shouted battle cries. They were going to die, but they would die as warriors. Captain Daehyun watched them approach. He could stop them easily, could disable their engines, could force them to surrender. But he thought about the executed teacher, about the 10 people killed on camera, about 3 million people terrorized for days. He decided the Valtherons had made their choice. Now they would face the consequences. His order was simple and absolute. No survivors. Lieutenant Jiwoo fired 6 singularity torpedoes. Each one found its target. 6 black holes appeared and consumed the remaining Valtheron ships. Hyuk's flagship was the last. He died screaming threats into the void, promising revenge that would never come. Then silence. The battle was over. The Battle of New Busan lasted exactly 18 minutes from first shot to final kill. 37 Valtheron warships destroyed. 12,000 ground troops neutralized. 3 million hostages rescued. 0 civilian casualties. The Retribution had sustained no damage. Not one scratch. Not one shield failure. The ship that humans built in secret for 2 centuries had performed exactly as designed. Captain Daehyun sat in his command chair. The adrenaline was fading. The reality was setting in. He had just killed thousands of aliens, destroyed an entire fleet, changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. He felt no satisfaction, no joy, just grim certainty that he had done what was necessary. The Valtherons gave him no choice. They mistook humanity's patience for weakness. They learned too late that humans prefer peace because they are capable of terrible war. Lieutenant Jiwoo searched the biometric databases from New Busan. She found 3 entries that made her heart soar. Her mother, her father, her brother, all alive, all safe, all showing healthy vital signs. She put her head down on her console and cried. All the stress and fear of the past days came out at once. She had saved them. She had saved everyone. Daehyun walked over and put a hand on her shoulder. He told her she did well. Told her the entire crew did well. Told her she could rest now, but rest would have to wait. Human evacuation ships were already approaching New Busan. The rescued hostages needed transport. Medical care, counseling. The crisis was over, but the recovery was just beginning. Across the galaxy, every species was processing what they had seen. News of the battle spread faster than light. Within hours, everyone knew. Humans were not the peaceful diplomats they seemed. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that built weapons they hoped never to use. that trained for war while praying for peace, that negotiated tirelessly but could destroy entire fleets when pushed too far. The balance of power had shifted. The Valtheron Empire, once feared across multiple sectors, was humiliated. Their fleet was gone. Their reputation was destroyed. And humans had done it with a single ship. On Earth, Ambassador Minji received a message from the Valtheron homeworld. The new commander, someone named Vec, requested immediate peace negotiations. The Valtherons were ready to talk, ready to make amends, ready to do whatever humans demanded. Minji read the message and felt a bitter irony. Now they wanted to negotiate. Now they wanted peace. After it was too late, after thousands had died, she accepted their request. Negotiations would begin within 3 days. But this time, humans would negotiate from a position of strength. This time, everyone knew what would happen if negotiations failed. The Retribution maintained orbit over New Busan, while evacuation operations continued. The ship was a constant presence, a reminder, a promise. It would protect these people. It would protect all humans, and anyone who threatened humanity would face the same fate as the Valtheron fleet. Captain Daehyun stood on the bridge and watched rescue ships come and go. He thought about the future, about what this battle meant, about how everything had changed. 3 days after the battle, the last rescue ship left New Busan. All 3 million people were safe. They were going home to other colonies, to Earth, to anywhere but the planet where they had been prisoners. The Retribution remained in orbit, watching over the evacuation like a guardian. Captain Daehyun stood on the bridge, exhausted but alert. His crew had not rested much. They wanted to make sure everyone got home safely. Lieutenant Jiwoo had finally spoken to her family. The communication was brief but emotional. Her mother cried. Her father thanked her. Her brother said she was the coolest sister in the galaxy. She laughed and cried at the same time. They were alive. That was all that mattered. Everything she had done, every weapon she had fired, every target she had destroyed, it was all worth it to hear their voices again. On Earth, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Every representative species demanded to speak. The chamber was more crowded than it had ever been. Everyone had questions. Everyone wanted answers. Ambassador Minji stood before them. She had slept for 6 hours in the past week. She looked terrible. But her voice was strong when she spoke. She told them the truth. Humanity had built the Retribution over 2 centuries. Built it in secret as insurance. As a final option if diplomacy failed. She explained that humans genuinely wanted peace. That they had proven this through 200 years of negotiation and compromise. But peace without the ability to defend yourself was not peace. It was just waiting to become a victim. Humans learned that lesson from their own history. They would not let it happen again. An alien representative from a species called the Hexath asked the question everyone was thinking. Are there more ships like the Retribution? Minji answered honestly, no, the Retribution was unique. One ship that took 200 years to build. Humans could not afford to build another, did not want to build another, but one ship was enough. One ship had saved 3 million people. One ship had destroyed an entire fleet. One ship had changed everything. Another alien asked if humanity posed a threat to the galaxy, if they would use the Retribution to conquer other species. Minji felt anger rise in her chest. She kept it controlled but let some of it show in her words. Humanity had just spent weeks trying to negotiate, had offered incredible concessions, had done everything possible to avoid violence. And still people asked if humans were the threat. She told them clearly. Humans would continue to negotiate, would continue to seek peaceful solutions, would continue to compromise when reasonable. But they would never again be mistaken for weak. Anyone who threatened humanity would face the same response the Valtherons received. The council chamber fell silent. The message was understood. Humanity had drawn a line. Cross it at your own risk. Counselor Taeyong watched the proceedings with satisfaction. Other species were finally taking humans seriously, finally understanding that patience was not the same as weakness. He had waited years for this moment. The Kryn representative stood and made a formal statement. His species had fought many wars. They understood military power. They respected the Retribution. They proposed that the Council officially recognize humanity's right to maintain advanced defensive capabilities without oversight. It was an unprecedented proposal. The Council had never given any species that kind of freedom. But after witnessing what happened at New Busan, nobody wanted to challenge it. The vote passed overwhelmingly. Humanity now had official permission to protect itself however it wanted. The Retribution could remain active, could patrol human space, could stand ready for any future threat. News of the Council decision spread quickly. On the Valtheron homeworld, the new Supreme Commander Vec read the reports with growing concern. His empire had started a war with the wrong species. Now they had to make peace or face destruction. He sent another message to Ambassador Minji. This one was different from the first. There were no demands, no arrogance. Just a simple request for peace talks and an apology for what his predecessor had done. Minji accepted the request. The negotiations began 3 weeks after the battle. They took place on a neutral station. Minji led the human delegation. Vec led the Valtheron one. The talks were surprisingly brief. The Valtherons agreed to everything humans demanded. Reparations for the families of those killed. Compensation for damages. A formal treaty promising no future aggression. They signed everything without argument. Vec told Minji privately that his empire had learned a hard lesson. They thought humans were weak because they always negotiated. They were wrong. Humans negotiated because they were strong enough to choose peace. Minji accepted the apology but did not forgive. Some things could not be forgiven. Innocent people had died because of Valtheron pride. That blood could never be washed away. Over the following months, the entire political landscape of the galaxy transformed. Species that had ignored human diplomatic efforts now listened carefully to every proposal. Aggressive empires reconsidered their expansion plans. Several border disputes were resolved peacefully because nobody wanted to anger humanity. The Retribution became famous across the galaxy. Children from dozens of species learned about it in school. Military academies studied the Battle of New Busan. Tacticians tried to understand how one ship defeated 37. But Captain Daehyun did not want fame. He returned the Retribution to its secret location. The ship would remain there, maintained but inactive. A symbol of deterrence rather than aggression. A reminder of what could happen, not a tool for making it happen. He addressed his crew one final time before they went on leave. He thanked them for their service. Thanked them for their sacrifice. Told them they had done something incredible, something that would be remembered for centuries. The crew dispersed to different assignments. Lieutenant Jiwoo was offered a promotion and a new posting. She declined. She wanted to go home, wanted to spend time with her family, wanted to remember what peace felt like. She returned to New Busan after it was cleared for resettlement. Her family had moved back. They were rebuilding their lives. Her mother had returned to teaching. Her father went back to work at the spaceport. Her brother started school again. Jiwoo helped them rebuild their house. She did not talk about what she had done during the battle. Did not mention the ship she destroyed or the calculations she made. Some burdens were carried alone, but her mother knew. Mothers always know. She hugged Jiwoo one evening and whispered thank you. Jiwoo cried into her mother's shoulder like she was a child again. Ambassador Minji returned to her work at the Galactic Council. Dozens of diplomatic proposals waited for her attention. But she approached them differently now. Every negotiation had new weight. Every compromise came from a position of strength. She opened a secure communication channel to Captain Daehyun. She sent him a simple message. Thank you for giving diplomacy the strength it always needed but never had. Daehyun read the message and smiled. He understood what she meant. Diplomacy without power was just begging. Power without diplomacy was just tyranny. Humans had found the balance. 6 months after the battle, the Galactic Council held a memorial service. They honored all casualties of the New Busan crisis. This included both human victims and Valtheron soldiers. It was a gesture of reconciliation. Ambassador Minji delivered the main speech. Her words were broadcast across the galaxy. She spoke about the cost of war, about the importance of peace, about remembering the dead so their sacrifice was not forgotten. She told everyone that humanity would always prefer negotiation, would always seek compromise, would exhaust every peaceful option before considering violence. But the galaxy now understood that this preference came from strength, not weakness. She ended her speech with words that became famous across the galaxy. Words that defined humanity's new relationship with every other species. Humans would negotiate. We tried. We offered everything reasonable and more. But when you mistake our patience for weakness, when you harm our people and mock our mercy, you force us to show you what we truly are. We are the species that builds weapons we hope never to use. We are the diplomats with a warship in reserve. We are humanity, and we prefer peace because we are capable of war. The council chambers erupted in applause. Not for violence, but for clarity. Everyone understood now. Everyone knew where they stood. The galaxy entered an unprecedented era of peace. Territorial disputes were resolved through mediation. Trade conflicts were settled through arbitration. Aggressive species reconsidered their ambitions. Everyone remembered New Busan. The retribution remained hidden, maintained but dormant. New crews rotated through every decade. Each generation trained for a mission they hoped would remain theoretical. The ship was a secret guardian. A final option. A promise and a threat. Years passed. Then decades. The galaxy became more peaceful than it had been in millennia. Some species began to forget about the battle. Began to think maybe it was exaggerated. Maybe humans were not that dangerous. But the older species remembered. The Kryn remembered. The Valtherons certainly remembered. And they made sure everyone else remembered too. They told stories about the ship that appeared when humans tried to negotiate. About the fleet that died in 18 minutes. About the perfect precision that saved 3 million lives. The stories became legends. The legends became lessons. And the lessons kept the peace.